You want basketball? We got you.
What about plays on the turf? We got you covered.
Or maybe even a knock right out of the park.
We give you our takes on the latest sports news, music, and anything trending around the world.
You are now in the clutch with Nia
And Malik. What is going on, guys? We are back. Episode 15.
15.
Nia,
Wow.
come on, man.
We getting
Already?
up there.
Already?
This is a special number.
Man, that's mellow right there. This the mellow episode right
Mellow
here.
episode.
This the mellow episode. So you know, guys, we started a series, Kicking It with Nia and Malik, and we just bring on guests, talk whatever we want to. And who we kicking it with today, Nia?
Man, today we are kicking it with Caleb Smith, host of Milli Productions and Podcast, National Award nominated journalist, cultural curator, and recently partnered with Business Bully TV as a co-host and moderator for Business Bully Podcast.
Y'all gassing me right
How do you do it?
The GOATs.
How
The
do you do it?
GOATs. No, for real.
I'm trying, bro. I'm trying to be like y'all when I grow up. For real.
Caleb, what's going on? Thank you for
much.
coming and kicking
For
with
real.
us today.
Man, thank y'all for having me. I tune in every single week.
Yes.
Y'all keep doing what y'all doing.
Yes.
Setup is fire. Episodes are fire. So
Yeah.
keep it up, for real.
That's
for
love.
real.
That's
it's needed.
love. That's love. We do it vice versa. We support.
y'all.
Got to.
You
Got
know.
to.
Thank y'all.
support.
Because what
Yeah.
you have is really like a gold mine that's really going to
Yeah.
take off and be something really big, because
That's
you don't
love.
see too many black men or just too many men, period, of your age group that are
Right.
doing the things that you're doing,
I appreciate
dropping
it.
the gems that you drop.
Thank you.
And that actually leads into my first question for you. Walk us through the birth of your empire, Milli Productions.
All right. So before all that starts, just real quick, y'all are dope. I love it. So professional.
And we gonna keep going complimenting.
Nah.
each other.
Hey, because-
we ain't gonna start the episode.
You know the Spider-Man meme?
And we about to start it. You. Nah, because real quick, the fact that, Nia and y'all already had the questions laid out,
Yeah.
everything.
Right.
So
Right.
fire.
Got
But
you.
how everything started was I've been doing podcasting since I think like 2015,
Wow,
since like my freshman year of college. And I always enjoyed having conversations because even as a kid, I love to talk, but not talk too much.
Mm-hmm.
So I used to love, talking to family members about their stories, or about, people at the barbershop. We'll be talking for hours. So this kind of led up to how 3 Milli Pod even started, because after doing podcasting at State, being over the podcast department, I've always had like this eye for conversations being recorded. So then, after school, I graduated. I was doing my internship. I loved it there. But, eventually when you grow up, it's like it's time for me to spread my wings.
Yeah.
So me, group of my friends, we tried to start our own media platform, which we now have. And when it first started, we struggled, with the name. So we were like, what are we going to call ourselves and all that stuff. So then Millennial Conversations. So then 3 Milli Pod, because at first it was just 3 of us.
Yeah.
So it started up from there. And 2, I just wanted to highlight entrepreneurship, which was very, very huge to me, because seeing entrepreneurs all the time growing up and seeing black people making their own money, calling, their own shots, because like what we were talking about earlier, sometimes we have to change our voices.
Right.
We have to change
Yep.
how we dress, how we carry ourselves. So that was so needed. So I want to talk about entrepreneurship, sports, just any and every type of thing that you could possibly cover.
Right.
But of course, business as well, which was huge. So that's how it started. And right now, I think we're at like 35 episodes. So it's been
Dope.
really, really dope.
That's good. That's
It's been really dope.
Really dope.
Thank y'all.
Hey, you inspired me to start my
Wow.
little small media company.
Not small. Hey, congrats.
It's gonna get there.
Yeah, not
It's definitely
small.
gonna grow.
Speak that into existence.
Yeah,
Yep.
for sure. It's definitely gonna grow, because the long-term goal is to own my own production company.
It's happening.
So,
It's happening.
and I'm glad that we did have that conversation earlier, just talking about how, at one point when I first got in the business, I thought, well, I have to talk a certain way, and I
Yep.
can't wear
Yeah.
my hair like
Right.
this.
Yeah.
And I can't tweet this, and I can't dress like this. I can't
Yep.
be Nia.
Right.
That's it.
So that's really dope that you see it that way, because being an entrepreneur, especially now in this era, it's important.
It is.
You know?
It is. It's needed. It's needed because as you see with people like Nick Cannon or just whoever, as Black people, we have to always have like this muzzle on us. Like we can't talk about any and everything. And even if it's true, it's just like, shh.
Yeah.
So there's another Malik out there. There's another Nia, another Caleb, my man behind the camera who owns this space. There's another version of us out there. So if we're our true, authentic selves, people, they'll see that, they'll attract to that. But if we're trying to switch up, change our voices, how we dress, it's like, I know Nia. I know Malik. Man,
he ain't like that.
That's what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying. So we can be creating our own lanes and new avenues for people to make it right now during this time.
True.
So it's needed.
Oh man, this motivation.
It's needed.
Oh,
nah,
man.
I'm trying, man.
Already.
Good combo.
So I know you got something starting on your IG. It's the Millennial Masterclass series. Just talk about that and what the impact has made so far.
Millennial Masterclass series actually started from my girlfriend's idea because COVID happened and we were filming at the podcast studio. And at first it was me and 2 other co-hosts. That didn't work out because sometimes people have disagreements on vision, all that stuff. So I had to go back to the drawing board. I had to figure out how can we still stay relevant? How can we produce content? Because right now I can't have guests come through. And COVID, this was like when it first happened, like back in March. So everybody was scared. And I was just scrolling on Instagram. I was telling my girlfriend, Sid, I was like, man, I don't know how we can post content. And she was like, you remember before you tore your Achilles back in December, you were going on Instagram Live. And you would just be chopping it up with people. I was like, okay. And then she was like, I can edit it for you. And she said, you can screen record it. Because this was the time on IG when it was a screen on top of another screen and there was comments on there. And then even if you screen recorded, it would still be comments on there. So, of course, you know, when you first start something, it's not perfect. But one episode led to another, started networking more, DMing people, sending emails, interview inquiries, and crossing fingers that people respond. And the moment I knew that it was popping was Ash Cash. He's a guy. He was on Earn Your Leisure. And I love Earn Your Leisure because they talk about entrepreneurship as well.
You put me on, actually.
I love them. It's
you
fire.
Put me on.
It's fire, man. Shout out to them for real. So I saw Ash. He was on there, and he was like, "Yeah, I stay here in Atlanta." I was like, "Oh, okay, bet." So then, like a few weeks later, formulated this email, sent it to him. He responded. We got on live. Great discussion. And then from there, one person led to another. So then it just started building. People would send DMs. Like, I learned so much from this conversation. And then I was like, okay, bet. So Instagram Live could be a medium for people who have podcasts. Because at first I thought that all of us that we were screwed because y'all have a beautiful setup. So imagine, you know, somebody saying, hey, you can't film in there no more. So it's like, bro, what are we going to do next? So really, it just started off of me just being creative, shooting a shot. And biggest note is listen to the women around you because they're always right.
Yes.
Moms, girlfriends, whatever. Because as men, sometimes it's like we have this.
We got tunnel vision.
Y'all do.
Shout out, exactly.
Y'all do.
Nia knows. So shout out to all Black women because 3 Milli Pod wouldn't be where it's at right now. Millennial Masterclass. First of all, that was a great question too. So it wouldn't even be where it's at if people like y'all weren't tapping into it. So much appreciated for real.
Yeah, we appreciate you.
Thank y'all.
Because I mean, I would get up every day like, okay, who's the next?
I appreciate it.
I'm tuned in.
Thank you.
I mean, like I said, I learned a lot.
Thank you. Thank you.
And it's crazy because, you know, we are now thinking like, why didn't we learn about financial literacy in school?
Man, what?
Why is this not implemented into the education system? So explain the importance of education on financial literacy in the Black communities.
Man, we can start off with this. I feel like we don't even look around us to start learning about it, right? So as a kid, my grandparents worked at a factory at Wrigley's. I love gum. I chew gum all the time, but it's like because of them. So they worked at Wrigley's. We would get free gum, but they worked there for like 40 years, right?
Oh, wow.
And they live like vacations. They stack their bread up. They are good. And as kids, they always taught us the importance of saving money because my grandmother, she was a sharecropper growing up.
Wow.
Yeah. In Commerce, Georgia. It's like in the middle of the country. And one of our family members, it was this story that was told. He was beaten by the KKK. So the fact that she was able to wake up at 4 a.m. or 5 a.m, work her butt off, then worked at a factory for 40 plus years. But now she has bread stacked up.
Wow.
She knows about stocks, 401k, all of this. And mind you, she's a regular woman just like anybody else. Like grandfather as well. My dad, he always taught me, save $1, spend $1. So growing up, even till this day, I'm going to stack my bread and I'm going all money in. Just like what, you know, Nip, what he would say. So I feel like our parents are around, and we need to watch and listen. Because I think sometimes like we're trying to find these financial gurus. They're going to charge you 5 stacks just to talk to them.
Right.
Yeah.
So it's like first we need to take a step back. Look at Malik. Look at Nia. Y'all talk about it. You talk to your friends because there's entrepreneurs everywhere.
Right.
At church. You might, at church, people sleep on church. You meet so many different people at church who are doing it. So you never know who you could talk to. My guy, Courtney Seals, he's a great business partner with Killer Mike. Cripicola, they started that. We went to the same church. He knew me ever since I was a kid. Entrepreneur. So it's people around you every single day.
Right.
I would just say ask questions. Like at the barbershop. Start conversations. People need to study barbers. Barbers are real entrepreneurs if you think about it. So I feel like it's around us. And 2, with podcasting, check out Earn Your Leisure. You can check out us, Dave Anderson. It's a lot of platforms. Y'all are doing big things. So I would just say you can go on YouTube. You can read books. One of my favorite books is The Mindset of Success. It's by Carol S. Dweck. Weird name, but it's a really good book because she's breaking down as sometimes, like we said, as men, we can have tunnel vision, and we don't listen. So great leaders have to listen. Great leaders have to adapt. And I was reading this when I tore my Achilles back in December. So I was bored. I just started reading books. Find a mentor. My mentors, Dave Anderson, Dr. Jacob English at Georgia State. Just find black people around you who you know are successful. Y'all know if somebody's really about it.
Right.
So I would just say just approach them, be yourself, authentic self, and just ask questions. Like drop the ego. We're all trying to learn.
Right.
That's where it starts.
Caleb came in. He came
in
and dropped gems.
Hey,
we love it.
Having a conversation, man. Just having a conversation.
Now, before you ask your question, Malik, I do have to ask you this. What, because, you know, we all basically journalists, stuff like that.
Yeah.
What made you want to take that route? Because, you know, I don't see too, like I said, I don't see too many of us, you know, that want to, it's either between news and sports.
That's it.
And culture.
Yeah.
You know,
I feel that. Yeah. Oh, man, it was actually crazy because in high school, I thought I was going to the league. Like, it was crazy. And you know how, like, most people say that, but most people, they were, like, trash. But, like, I had the talent, I had the mindset, everything. But, again, back to asking questions. Growing up, I would always be on like the morning announcements, morning news. So broadcasting was always my plan B because my dad, he didn't play that. My mom didn't play that. Like you had to get all A's and B's, preferably all A's. You had to have a plan B. So went to college, Reinhardt. It was a small school. Went there, tore my hamstring. And I was doing great in camp. I was about to get PT as a freshman, like already off the boat, like ready. And then I think we were doing, it was like strength and conditioning. We were doing gashers. And I was running, and I heard a super loud pop. And it sounded like a gunshot, and I thought it was somebody behind me. I'm like, bro, what happened? And then I tried to run, and I fell. And I could feel just everything just moving in my leg, and it was torn. Dang. So I was out for like 3 weeks. I tried to come back early. You know how it goes, like as an athlete, trying to push yourself. I was doing work, like one-on-ones, everything, team, all that stuff. But then my leg, I could feel it afterwards where I just couldn't burst. And I really started thinking about it. And I'm like, yo, is it really worth all this? So then the coaches, they tried to make me do this conditioning test like every single day. I would have to show up at like 5 in the morning. I had to show up an hour before that and get treatment. So really at like 4:30, 5 o'clock. And I was running every single day with like a torn hamstring. I'm like, bro, y'all not going to tear my body down. So I talked to my mom, my dad, girlfriend, brother. Like I told them, like, y'all, I know, like, y'all count on me, y'all support me, because in high school I was like most likely to go pro, like won that accolade, all that stuff, first team this, but I knew my worth and I knew I was more than just a regular athlete. So at the time they had this thing at Reinhardt called Eagle TV, and that was for broadcasting students. I couldn't do it because of football, and I had practice at that time. So then I started thinking about it, and I'm like, I can't play football forever. So I took a big gamble on myself, talked to the coaches, man to man, eye to eye, told them, yo, I'm done. I appreciate, you know, the opportunity, but the way that my hamstring is set up right now, and I can't keep pushing my body to this point because eventually it will give out. And if I already had this as a freshman coming in and y'all are still trying to push me, like I get it, but I don't get it at the same time. So I stepped away from the game, prayed on it for like a week, did broadcasting there. One thing led to another. Then I was doing all the interviews on campus. People started watching it. And then I thought about state, transferred to Georgia State because I already knew about CNN, internships, all that stuff. So then one thing led to another.
Wow.
And that's how it happened.
That's crazy.
That's
It's
what's
crazy.
up.
We're talking. Remember, like when we first started, we were talking to Jared Johnston.
Mm-hmm.
He basically had the same thing. Like
Wow.
quarterback got hurt.
Yeah.
And
I
it was
saw that
more
interview.
like him. Like he didn't have a plan B. So that's where he started to form his plan B. And then now he's trying to help people find their plan B.
Right.
Like he's
interview.
doing other stuff. So
That
that's great.
was dope.
Yeah.
That's great.
And I
Thank you,
think
man.
even as athletes, going all these years, we're told ball is life, ball is life, ball is life. Just like how
That's
you
real.
said you didn't have time to do that.
Nope.
If I did play my senior year, I would not be sitting here with you guys today.
Ain't that something?
Isn't that crazy?
Another athlete who didn't make it.
Right.
You feel me?
And it just stops right there.
Yeah.
So-
Exactly.
Yeah.
It's crazy how at one point you think like this is life. Like in order for me to be successful, I need to make it professional and all this other stuff because my entire life it's been about this
Right.
game. I don't know anything
Ain't that
else.
something?
And nobody has told me what I can do.
Right.
That's what I'm
And
saying.
it's crazy 2 years after I stopped playing basketball on the collegiate level now because I've played my entire
Talk your talk.
life.
Yeah.
Tell you
No,
how
I'm just
real.
saying,
real.
I played my entire life,
That's
and I
real.
didn't know who the hell I was. I didn't
Yeah.
know what I wanted to
Big
do.
identity
I knew
crisis.
I knew what I wanted to do.
Right.
It's always been broadcasting,
Right.
but I didn't know how to get in there.
Yeah.
Yep.
So shout out to Cecil. Thank you, Cecil.
Yeah.
Shout out to Cecil.
Shout out to Cecil.
Yeah, for
no,
real.
Shout out to you, Cecil. But no, I mean, I didn't know. I was going in my senior year of college. I'm like, yo, like, what am I gonna
Yeah.
do without this sport? I've literally played since I was 4 years
Whole entire
old.
life.
Yeah.
So nobody told me what else I could do.
Right.
And
Facts.
to this day, here we are in 2020. I'm still trying to find myself and
Mm.
still trying to figure out what's my niche and finding my niche. But that's beautiful that you have found your niche because you're really
Yeah.
good at it.
Thank you.
You know?
Likewise.
Yeah.
And two, I'll say this for Nia, Malik, although y'all may feel like I'm not where I want to be, look at where you guys are at right now
Yeah.
in this moment in time.
Right.
Like Nia, Malik, y'all have it together. So
Right.
don't ever get like lost in the sauce where you start comparing and stuff.
Yeah.
Because there's those people who didn't make it and they don't even know who they are.
Yeah.
So if we're here in 2020, just think about where we'll be in 2021, 2022. So just one day at a time.
I
Real.
think one big thing I've learned from my therapist, like it's like you said, we always
Pause
had
real
that
quick
one.
though. Black man going to therapy. Hey,
That's-
respect.
Yeah,
I'm trying to get there. Yeah.
Go
Yeah,
to
it-
therapy.
it-
For real.
Therapy is
I would
cool.
love it.
Yeah.
I would love it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But
Therapy's
she
amazing.
talked about how it's just like
Yeah.
you always had that one big goal, right? And
Mhm.
she's like, okay, you got that one big goal. Okay, what's next after that? It's like, and I was like, dang, you right. Like, okay, once I get to where
What's
I want to
next?
be, is that it? Like, I
What's
still got
next?
so much more to
So
live
much more
for,
to
like,
life.
and you don't even know it.
Yeah.
And we're just focused on one thing. And two, even if you look at, I remember it was this show, America's Game. It used to come on NFL Network. And they used to cover NFL teams, their Super Bowl journeys.
Yep, I know what you're
And I
talking
remember
about.
Brett Favre said something that hit me. And I was a kid. 1996, Packers win. I think they were in New Orleans, won the Super Bowl. And he was like, after I won, I felt empty. Because I'm like, what's next?
Right.
Because he was like, throughout the whole playoff run, it's like, okay, we just beat San Fran, now on to Philly.
Yep.
We just beat Philly, now on to New England in the Super Bowl. But then once that's done, what's next?
Right.
So that's what happens, in my own opinion, when you do it for yourself.
Yeah.
Because you just wanted that accomplishment.
Right.
But if you're doing it to add value, to inspire people, then it's like, I
It's
got to
more.
find something else. But if you just focus on that one goal, and then once you get it, like
Yeah.
if you focus on making a meal, like before you die, once you make it, it's going to be like, okay.
Yeah, I
man.
got it now. It's like,
You see what I'm
was that?
saying?
Yeah, yeah.
But if you're thinking, once I make this, I want to create jobs, I want to create wealth,
Yeah.
then that's a new challenge almost every single day.
Right.
So yeah,
Right.
Right.
yeah.
Wow.
It's crazy.
Dropping gems. Dropping gems.
Oh
I
man.
appreciate it.
So, we got a lot going on right now in the
Facts.
black community.
Yes, sir.
It's been going on even before all this year, but just talk about like how can we address the financial literacy gap among African Americans?
I think, and first off, that's a very good question because people don't even ask those questions, first off. But I think it's very complex. Just like what Nia was saying, how she watches Earn Your Leisure.
Yeah.
Like, you can watch podcasts and you can watch conversations, and it's that simple. And two, another thing is we have to stop relying on the public school system to teach us. That's where we fail.
That's it right there.
That's where we fail because
Yes.
I think as black people, we trust I don't want to say all white people, but we trust white people in powerful places too much. And we think that they'll have their best interests at heart for us, which is not true.
Right.
Because for a sense of surviving, it doesn't make sense anyways.
Yeah.
So when it comes to finances, we need to start teaching that young. I feel like parents don't want to tell kids how much they make. They don't want to tell them how to budget. But then when you turn 18 or when you want to get your first place, you don't have a credit score yet.
Right.
You don't have any of these things because they didn't want to tell you all this because they wanted for you to still be a kid.
Right.
Yeah.
Not thinking that should be part of being a kid. Just like how you're going to school to learn how to find X.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You should be learning how to build your credit scores, how to start a business. I feel like entrepreneurship needs to be taught in our schools, especially I think as early as about 4th grade, because you can't rely on a 9 to 5 to constantly uphold you. I work. I know everybody works.
Right.
But at the same time, you have to still have a vision for yourself. If COVID happens, what am I going to do?
Right.
Or if this happens, what am I going to do? Or like Nia, what you're doing a podcast and starting your own production company.
Right.
Malik doing your own thing.
Right.
So it's like everybody needs to have something going on for themselves, because that can be something that can create the next Amazon, next Apple. So all of us have potential. And two, it's like if you can get a job at a 9 to 5, you can create your own, because apparently they saw something in you.
Right.
So all of us have that potential. It's just we have to, especially in our communities, we have to think about ownership. Powernomics is a great book that I really want to read. That's going to be on my task. But Dr. Claude Anderson, he wrote that book. He's a genius. And he says that the only equity that we own as black people is sweat.
Wow.
And when you think about it, we're always the ones that's playing the sports.
True.
We're always the ones that's doing the singing and the dancing and the acting. But who's the booking manager?
Right.
Who owns the publishing? Who owns the studio? Who owns the record label?
That's true.
And it's either a Jewish or an old white man.
Yeah.
Wow.
And that's not anti-Semitic.
Right.
That's just a fact.
Yeah.
So we just have to look at that. Like when I watch NFL games, when you see the Cowboys, you have a literal racist running this organization, and he has black players playing on a field. Just think about that, playing on a field, and he's called the owner.
Yeah.
And we don't even have black head coaches in the league like that.
Yeah.
So we got to start looking at ownership, and our problem is we want to be in the limelight too much, really.
Right.
Because really where all the
Show
power
off.
is, man, and real quick too, if you guys ever get the chance, watch The Black Godfather on Netflix.
Okay.
Clarence Avant is one of the greatest black businessmen who ever lived. He helped Hank Aaron make his money, Andrew Young, all these people. But he said life is about numbers, and he was showing how it's more power being behind the scenes. Most people don't even know who he is. But he put on Quincy Jones, Michael Jackson. He saved Soul Train.
Yeah.
But you don't even know who he is.
Yeah.
And we got to start understanding that's where the real power is behind the scenes. But I think because our people have been deprived of so much, we want to show you who we are.
Yeah.
Or we want to walk around with the biggest chain,
Right.
nicest car. Now,
Right.
realizing that billionaire or that millionaire, he drives a regular car.
Right.
He wears the same clothes
Low
every
key.
day. I mean, I even started practicing wearing black tees all the time because it keeps everything simple.
Simple.
Like if you think about Steve Jobs, that's how he was. And two, it's a thing called decision fatigue. Like that's a real thing. When you wake up in the morning and it's like you have to think about what you're gonna eat, what you're gonna wear, who you're gonna talk to. Most millionaires and successful people already have everything planned out. I'm gonna wear that white tee today, or I'm gonna wear that black tee today. I'm wearing this hat, these shoes, already planned out. So then I'm starting my day not stressed out.
Yeah.
But it's like we're trying to think of how can I flex on
How
Nia?
can
Right.
I
How can I
flex?
flex on Malik?
True.
Yeah. Yeah.
I got to get this Challenger, although I can't even afford it.
Wow.
But I'm going to post it on Instagram, though. So we just got to get better with our habits. And two, in game, like just ask yourself what's really important.
Yeah.
And that's why I think studying people like Nip is important. Ash Cash is a legend. Like if y'all even email him, like he will email you back. But he breaks down financial literacy. He has a book called Hustlenomics. It's fire, where he talks about Nip, how to break that down, and even study Nip, all money in, which is people think he was just saying that, but that's a fact. Like everything that you make, use it towards something. Like Nia, everything that you make, use it towards that company, that camera, that laptop. Malik, same thing. And as you see, you're gonna flip that money, and then from there. And then last point, our drug dealers need to become entrepreneurs. Because you're running a Fortune 500 company.
You really are.
Facts.
You really
being
are.
real.
That's
No,
real.
You have great entrepreneurial skills.
Yeah.
You know how to do relationships. You know how to go through language barriers with people who speak Spanish when they're getting coke. Like, people don't think about that.
Right.
Like, on the show Snowfall, I love that show.
Yes.
Think about it. Buddy was young, going to Colombia, getting
Yeah.
dope. and then flipping it and knowing how to talk to somebody who has a gun pointed at them.
Right.
Going to the CIA, knowing how to talk to them, getting dope from them.
Yeah.
Knowing how to keep up with money before Wells Fargo has an app.
Right.
We talking about in the 80s where
Yeah.
he has to call the bank and check, all right, I got $5 million a day. Okay, I'm gonna use that for this. Imagine if you ran a business, man.
crazy.
A legit business. Wow. That you didn't have to go to prison for. You feel me? But we throw away our brightest minds sometimes, not realizing that so-and-so, he became a dope boy because he realized his worth. Why would I work a 9 to 5 when I can make that in a day?
True.
He's just making a business decision.
Yeah.
But we got to provide jobs, like as you see in media. Nia, I promise you, 15 years from now, 10 years from now, probably 5, you'll be having employees. You're providing jobs.
That's dope.
Y'all, with the podcast, you'll be providing jobs. So that's what we have to think about is do it for somebody other than just us. Yeah. It comes down to that.
That's real.
Yep.
I gotta walk out real quick, man.
Well.
Nah, hey, I appreciate
Caleb
y'all.
came in to preach today.
Nah,
I'm
I
sitting here
appreciate y'all.
inspired. I'm telling you, because
I
you know what,
appreciate
you
y'all.
made a really good point earlier, just saying like how we as Black people, you know, we want to be in front. I know at one point I'm like, ooh, I want to be the next Carrie champion. I want to be the next Jamel
Facts.
Hill. I want to be on the front of the camera and
Facts.
stuff like that. But you know, I was telling you before we actually got on, and I was just like, I went through those 2 internships, you know, in the news business, because at one point I wanted, you know, start to do local sports reporting and then work my way up to be on ESPN or a major network. And then it took for me to have those 2 experiences at a small market and a large market to realize this ain't it.
Yeah, like, bro, this whack, man.
This is
Yeah.
not it.
Yeah.
I'm not getting paid much. I have to, and I'm not knocking
Yeah,
anybody
yeah.
that
You're just talking about for yourself.
for
Yeah,
myself.
right, yeah.
It's not what I wanted to do.
Yeah.
Nah.
It took me to realize, like, girl, like, you can do whatever you want to do.
Right.
Facts.
Yeah.
And I didn't even appreciate the beauty of production until I started creating my own content. And I'm like, yo, like,
It's fun.
it's fun.
Yeah.
I enjoy it. Like the other night I was up to 6 o'clock in the morning creating a video.
But enjoying it, though.
Yeah.
Loved it.
But if you
Every
were
second
staying
of
up
it.
till 6 for Channel 11, type in a news script, you'll be like, bro, this is lame.
This is not
That
it.
you gotta bend the edges.
Nah.
And
Not
make sure you
it.
don't say this,
See,
or
there you
that.
That's what I'm
go.
saying.
Yeah, it's
You
not
know?
you.
And see, look, I'm telling y'all, and for everybody that's tuned in, think about this. Although it will have those hard moments where it's like, man, this is tough.
Yeah.
Know that we have to do this because for the next line, it'll be easier.
Fact.
Because for us, like we said at State, we go in, there's no Malik, there's no Nia, there's no Caleb, where somebody's showing us, yo, you don't have to do hard news.
Yeah.
You could talk about culture, you could talk about sports, you could talk about business, and you can dress how you want to dress. And as you see, what does everybody want now? A podcast.
Yeah.
What does everybody
Right.
want now? Their own platform. So now we
Right.
see the people that's on the Channel 2, Channel 11 trying to come in our lane now. Why? Because it's more lucrative. Like,
Yep.
who's my man? I can't think of his name right now. Joe Rogan.
Okay.
Oh,
Signed
yeah.
$100 million deal.
Yeah.
$100
Yep.
million for
Yep.
a podcast.
For a podcast.
Joe Budden, he started this trend making, I think, 5-7.
Yeah.
And then Gilly and Wallow, they got one for like $3 million. So think about it. Podcasting is where it's at. Creating your own production company is
Right.
where it's at because you own that.
Right.
As you see with Carrie Champion, ESPN, chewed her out,
Yeah.
spat her
Yeah.
out. Jamel
Yeah.
Hill, same thing.
Yeah.
Now
Stephen
look at that
A,
now.
he done been spanked a few times.
Of course.
Yeah.
So know that it's just like playing sports. You're just there until they don't need you anymore.
Right.
Yeah.
So it's always best to create your own platform. I promise you.
Oh, yeah.
Amen. No.
Yep.
Thank you
Can't
for
trust
the
nobody
inspiration.
but yourself.
Now I appreciate y'all.
So going on into some sports talk, last week the Washington football team hired its first Black president in NFL history.
Yeah.
Not to mention, NFL has been around for 100 years.
Too long.
Why is it now that things are being brought to light and corporations are being held accountable? Deserving and qualified African Americans are finally landing the roles that should have happened a long time ago. Do you feel
fact.
like it's genuine, or companies are doing this to not look so racist?
We already know what it is.
Okay. All right.
We already know what it is.
You know I got to ask.
Because I mean, think about this. We have a franchise called the Washington Redskins, or formerly known as.
Yeah.
And Dan Snyder, he never wanted to change it. So that shows you everything that you want to know right
Right.
there. And then it's like step 2. Louis Riddick, he should have been hired a long time ago.
Yeah.
Like if John Gruden got a job because of his football knowledge
Yeah.
on Monday Night
True.
Football, then how come Louis Riddick, he's never been in anybody's front office? And then as well, it's like no knock on Buddy, respect. But what exactly does a football president do? Like, is he the GM? He's
Right.
not the
Yeah.
owner.
Right.
Right.
So is he really going to call any shots or he's just going to be a face? No disrespect to him. I'm just saying for his role, I've never heard of a football president. Usually the president is either the owner or the GM.
Yeah, GM. Yeah.
So he could be the GM. He could be. But I don't know. Like it's 2020 and we're still talking about first black this. But that's my point.
Yeah.
In the words of Dr. Claude Anderson, again, the only thing that we own is sweat. Because how is it that we're talking about a predominantly black lead from top to bottom?
Yeah.
And you just now got a black person in the ownership position.
Right.
It's all about design. It's all about design. I mean, Doug Williams, he should have been in that role. Because I think he still works for the front office, maybe. Or he probably got fired when everybody got fired with Gruden. But you had somebody like Doug who was there pretty much ever since he retired, and he never got that spot. He got you a Super Bowl.
Yeah.
So I think it's all just to save face, as we already know.
Of course.
And I'm not saying boycott of the NFL because I watch it, but we have to start teaching our kids. Your plan B, if you love football so much, is to try to get into head coaching. But I'll say forget that because you can get fired. Try to get into being a GM.
Yeah.
Right.
Or a front office.
Yeah.
Just think about ownership, because if you're constantly wanting to be in front of the cameras, they can take it away from you at any time.
Real quick.
Anytime.
Yep.
It's all up here, y'all.
That's for real.
So in 2000, last year, basically, Toronto Raptors president Masai Ujiri, he was involved in that incident with the police officer. But the footage was released last week, showing that the officer was the one that attacked him first.
Terrible.
So what are your thoughts on that, and why is it so hard for you to think? What do you think? Like, why is it so hard for the police officers to take accountability for what they're doing now?
Because they're doing what they're supposed to do.
Yeah,
that's what we don't talk about. Like, Nia, I saw you in the protest. That was fire. Like, people have to understand we have to do things like that because it's necessary. And two, we have to think about, we cannot appeal to, I wouldn't say all, but to a certain group of people's conscience who don't have a conscience.
Yeah.
Like, we can't expect for people or this entity to really care, because we're talking about the police department, which came from slave catching. Yeah. Like, they're doing their job. It's to patrol us and to make sure that we're staying in line and that we're being good black folk. So anytime that these things happen, it's a white officer doing what a white officer is supposed to do. And there's still good officers out there. Don't get me wrong. It's just we have to not be surprised anymore. True. Because if I constantly came up in here and stole y'all's equipment or messed up this beautiful studio at least once a week for 400 years, y'all would be like, bro, he's a thief. He caused problems.
Yeah.
If I kept doing it and one of your friends saw us hanging out, they'll be like, bro, why are you trying to be cool with it?
Yeah, right.
Like, don't you know what he's done?
Yeah.
And that's what we have to think about with police officers, with the government. We just have to, and I'm not saying cause riots or any of that, but we just have to be careful and know that it doesn't matter how much money that we make. It doesn't matter what our title is. They do not care. They don't care. And I promise you that cop knew who he was.
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
Masai is one of the most popular
GMs
in the league.
Yeah.
So come on now. But again, it just shows that you're still black.
Yeah.
Yep.
What does Kanye say?
Yeah.
He's still a jigger in the coop.
Man, that's how it goes. That's how it goes. I'm telling you.
Now, why do you think, because I just read that Colin Kaepernick still is not being picked up by a team. And we talked about this earlier. Roger Goodell just saying that he wishes he could do more.
But he's the commissioner.
That he wish he could, just why is it so hard for people to take accountability for their actions? If you were just racist in that moment, like, just be real about it. Just say it. Stop beating around the bush. But why is it that Colin Kaepernick, the only thing this man wants to do is play football?
Simple. Simple. I just want to throw the rock.
Yeah,
like,
that's it.
That's it.
Yeah, it's a term called white fragility, and it's a great book too. Check that out as well. It was a great book, but it breaks down how racist white people can't look at themselves in the mirror, because if they do, they know, like, yo, I'm tripping, or I'm crazy, or what I'm doing is inhumane. So they have to constantly ignore it. So by saying I wish, it's him showing fake like accountability, like I'm trying to act like I care, but he doesn't, because you have the power, but you aren't using that white privilege to leverage power for black people. Right. Because you could have just signed him, or you could have gave him a role or one of those president roles at the NFL front office.
Right.
There's so many different things that he could have done. So he can't say that he wishes. Like, bro, you literally blackballed somebody and said that you weren't doing it while it was happening. And then after it happened, he was like, all right, I did.
Yeah.
That's crazy. So
And it
I don't
took
know.
till what 2020 for everyone to admit that.
Yeah.
You know, he
So,
got
yeah,
blackballed
4
back
years?
in 4 years. It had
Yeah.
to take for a black man to get killed by a police officer who was kneeling on his neck.
which is very weird when you think about
Right.
that. Yeah.
You know, but hey, they always say what goes around must come back
Right.
around.
Facts.
And the thing is that you could have went all these years thinking that you got away for doing Colin Kaepernick that way,
But you're not.
but you're
Yeah.
not.
You're not, because just being real, NFL probably won't happen this year. I've been saying that for a
They
while
don't think
because
so?
too many players, too much traveling, and
a lot, yeah.
they're trying to say that the 11 positive tests that came back, they went back and recanted on that and said that it was like a lab issue.
Yeah, the false
Right.
positives or what's
Yes,
false negatives,
that
something
was
like
crazy.
that.
How
Yeah.
convenient. So I feel like that is, you can call it the ancestors, you can say God, you can say nature getting his way right now because they're about to lose a lot of money.
Yeah.
So, but Cap, at the end of the day, I wouldn't even want to play for the league.
No, not at all.
It's pointless because right now I'm bigger than football.
Yes.
I'm bigger than football. I don't want to
Yes.
give first take, undisputed, something to talk about if I throw one incomplete pass.
Yeah.
Right.
Or if I throw one pick or one mistake, they're going to blow it up and say, see, I told you he was washed.
Right.
Yeah.
It's not worth it.
Mm-hmm.
It's pointless. And two, it's part of his sacrifice.
Yeah.
So he'll be fine. As we know, Cap, he's still making his money. So
Right.
shout
sure
out to
Right,
him.
right, right,
is.
right, right,
He
right.
got that check.
Right. Right.
And then two, I love this because it shows that some things are bigger than football. Some things are bigger than basketball. So is it really that important to go back on another owner's roster who probably blackballed you?
Yeah.
And he doesn't even want you there. He just wants you for ticket sales.
Mhm.
And it's like, do I
Yeah.
want to fall for that again? Nah, I'm good. So he'll be good. He'll be
Yeah.
fine.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I know when we talked about earlier, like, you know, we like to be in the light, but we don't ever think about, you know, what about being that owner? What? And I feel like
Yeah.
Cap, he was like, okay, I don't really need this football thing. He just signed a deal with
Nike.
yeah. So
Yeah.
like
Nike,
I'm
Disney.
straight.
yeah, you don't need that.
And would he
yeah.
have signed that if he was still playing football? Maybe not.
Yeah,
You
true.
know? So he'll be good. And then two, another thing is Cap was never bad. When people say, oh, he fell off, that last year he had 16 touchdowns and 4
Yeah,
picks.
and
And
the
he had a
Niners
90
were trash.
QBR.
Yeah,
And Kirk Cousins had something lower than that. He got paid. So I
True.
don't want to hear it.
True.
I don't want to hear
True.
none of that.
True.
It just it
True.
shows you how they can change narratives overnight
Oh yeah,
and make you to be something who you aren't.
yeah,
And again, it's people not wanting to look at themselves in the mirror.
Yeah.
So you keep listening to that lie that sounds so good.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like if I can say that he's trash, then I can justify me not signing him.
yeah.
And that's exactly what happened. It was crazy.
Feels like the
Since
same thing with Cam
2016.
too.
With Cam, that's my guy.
Like the same
Yeah.
thing with
So
him.
again, we only see this with black quarterbacks
Mm-hmm.
really. Because Kirk Cousins, he still gets a shot every year, and he's terrible.
Terrible.
I mean, we can just keep going down the list,
Yeah.
like Ryan Fitzpatrick.
Yeah.
Like all these guys
All
are
these guys,
terrible.
yeah.
What's my guy's last name is Moore. Matt Moore is still in the league.
Mhm.
Like
yeah, Matt Moore. Yeah, I know.
how? But y'all said that Cam can't be in the league. Like, do you know how crazy that sounds to say
He's
Cam
still
is a
young.
second or third string quarterback?
Yeah, that don't make sense.
But it's only with us, and they use our athletic abilities against us. Oh,
Yeah.
he runs too much.
Mhm.
But then if Josh Allen starts running, or Aaron Rodgers, oh, he's so
Oh,
athletic.
he runs now. He can do it all.
It's crazy. Sports is crazy sometimes, man. I tell
No, for
you,
real.
hypocrisy at its finest.
Oh, so I know recently, you know, you've seen all the high school athletes. They're trying to get into HBCUs now,
I
not
love
going
it.
to those other colleges. How important is that for our culture?
Great question. Y'all ask great questions, by the way. HBCUs are so needed, man, because I
Yeah.
grew up around them. Like, my brother, he went to FAMU. I used to
Okay.
love going to FAM to, like, drop off his stuff. Like, I used to
Yeah.
love just go over
Yeah.
there. Like, you see all the people walking
Right.
around. You see the sororities, the frats, the football players, Morehouse Homecoming, of course, and
Yeah.
Spelman. So being exposed to that growing up and people who went there and seeing them become, you know, successful people, I always thought about, well, hey, if we look at the history, right, most of our five-star athletes back in the 70s and in the 60s and some in the 80s were going to these HBCUs. This is a true story. Bear Bryant in Alabama started losing to teams that start getting black players. And they said he was an avid racist. So most black Alabama fans know your history about Alabama and Ole Miss too, and Georgia. But he was losing, and they pretty much said we need to go sign some N-words.
Yeah.
And they went and did that, and then Alabama became Alabama again.
Yeah.
That shows you our power, that they took us from HBCUs to these major D1 schools. And it shows you that if we go back to those HBCUs, think about how much money that would generate for those schools. Morehouse, by the way, whoever's running the money at Morehouse needs to go. But the fact that Morehouse has to constantly ask for money, and their endowment I think is $47K a year, or Spelman has to ask for money, or schools like Clark. Like I love Clark. One of my mentors, he actually stays here on Snapfinger Road, so shout out to y'all. But he was my professor at State. And now he's over the media department at Clark. We used to go to Clark like every other weekend, check it out, media department. Their conditions that they had to deal with was so bad compared to a school like Georgia State. But they had music journalism, unlike Georgia State. They had hip-hop journalism. So HBCUs have the programs. It's just the funding isn't there. And our talent pool, even in journalism and media, needs to be going to HBCUs, because then you can bring attention to those schools. You can bring resources. But our problem is sometimes we feel like if we're around white people, then we made it. And we have to throw that out the window and realize that we can flip those economics overnight. Like imagine if, Nia, you went to an HBCU. So imagine if 5-star athletes who were going to schools like UConn or Tennessee were going to Alabama State.
That's big.
It would change. So it takes people like Mikey Williams, saying that. And as y'all saw, he's getting all that flack now. So it takes people standing up and saying, yo, instead of me going to UGA, I want to go to Morehouse. Or instead of me going to Alabama, I want to go to Howard or Alabama State. It takes that one person who has to make a sacrifice, but it can all change overnight. It can.
Yeah. Hey, we can turn this thing around.
Facts.
How can the African American community move forward and progress to make our own communities better and create, build, fix, so that we don't have to deal with what we've dealt with for over the past 400 plus years of mistreatment?
It's been a long time. I feel like we got to stop listening to the news. Watch the news. I'm not saying don't watch the news for everybody that's tuning in, but take from it what you can get.
Right.
And know, because if we watch the news, I'll be like, Nia, all black women just twerking out here.
So
I'll be like, Malik, all black dudes just out here scamming or flipping dope. And all we do is kill each other. Some of that is true, but most of it isn't. Like even right now, think about what y'all are currently doing with this platform. Like most people don't talk about, there's so many black people getting into podcasts and entrepreneurship, building companies. So if we just look around us and we start understanding our value, and two, we don't know our history. That's where we keep messing up. Like Georgia State used to make me so mad because at the Honors College, I was in the Honors College all throughout Georgia State. I worked there. I did their media there, and I will always be the only black person. My mentor there, Dr. Jacob English, my guy, shout out to you. He actually had me work for him. And mind you, this is when I first transferred. And again, this is about us getting in those spaces and not doing it for us. He saw me. He was like, we need somebody to, run our media. He created a position for me and got me in there. So when I started getting in there, we used to talk about history all the time. And we used to talk about how at Georgia State, have you guys ever heard of Alonzo Herndon before? One of the first, I think he's one of the first millionaires in America. So when you look at Auburn Avenue, that was like his stomping grounds. Atlanta Life Insurance Company made millions. Black man. Nobody talks about that. The Georgia State Honors College building was his office building. And there's nothing talking about that except for a little plaque on a step that you walk over. And it's off in the corner. This man is one of the first millionaires ever. And he was a black man, and it's right here on Georgia State's campus, which graduates the most black people in America. And it's across the street from the Auburn Research Library for African Americans. And nobody talks about this. And nobody talks about how he built a company from the ground up. And this was like in the early 1900s. He owned barbershops, everything. So where Adderhold is, he had barbershops lined up over there. All black owned. Nobody talks about this. So 1906, we had a race riot right where like Adderhold was. It happened because they were jealous about how much money all the black people were making. Nobody tells you that. John Wesley Dobbs, another one. We see like the road names, moneymaker. We have so many. Auburn Avenue, they said, was arguably more lucrative than Harlem at the time. Nobody talks about that.
Not to mention that's where Dr. King grew up too.
And his family had money. Nobody talks about that. And John Wesley Dobbs was the grandfather of Maynard Jackson, who was the first mayor. How do you think Maynard grew up in such an affluent community? Because of what his grandfather did. And we're talking about late 1800s, early 1900s. So Tulsa, Black Wall Street, we have these examples. It's just we don't know our history, so we think that we don't come from anything. So I feel like we tap into our history. Again, if we just have conversations just like this, everybody's smart. So we'll be good. We'll be good.
And I think me and Nia, we talk about this a lot. Like when you're in elementary school, middle school, like these history books, they not really telling you. They're not telling you the truth.
They're doing what they're supposed to do.
Exactly.
Right.
Yeah. Because Malik, Nia, think about this. If I told y'all that there was multiple black millionaires in the early 1900s, and if we had this in history books, and I told you about Madam C.J. Walker, like all these amazing people, you'd be like, so if they started business with no social media, think about that. Madam C.J. Walker was doing door-to-door sales and had saleswomen.
Right.
No social media. She's keeping up with the money, the sales, all that stuff. And we have social media now. But we don't know, like, who came before us. All we know is Martin Luther King, Abraham Lincoln, he freed us. Bam.
Right.
And we're here. Freed us. Right. Yeah. So if we just learn our history, if we just, again, I'm telling y'all, and it's not to be, redundant, but it simply just takes conversations and going on social media. Just follow young entrepreneurs, watch podcasts, have these conversations. I mean, right now, y'all even being in the studio, my man who's filming, he's an entrepreneur. Yeah. And that's why when I was saying, yo, like, what equipment are you guys using? I was like, talk to him, conversation. Yeah. So it just takes being humble and talk to your grandparents. Like, nobody thinks about that. Our grandparents' parents were slaves. You can learn so much from them. Yeah. So just ask. Just ask questions.
And just to throw this out here, there's only 15 black billionaires right now.
15.
15.
How many white do you know?
I don't even know.
Probably double.
Blow them out.
Yeah.
But that's another thing. I feel like our black billionaires, some do a lot, but most don't do enough.
Not enough.
Because imagine if, all right, so that's $15 billion. Imagine if y'all leverage that towards the community. And I'm not talking about donations. Donations in the words of Dr. Umar. Donations. You only gave me $10. But it's not that. And that's another thing. Like, it doesn't, like, philanthropy isn't needed anymore. We have so many black organizations. We have so many boys and girls clubs, but you do it because it's easy. Because I remember Carnegie, or one of them, he once said that he was going to build parks and music halls because people would think about that when they think of his name instead of thinking about, like, his poor working conditions for employees. Rich people do that on purpose. Because then with Oprah, we can say, well, she gives Morehouse money. And my thing is, if Nip, and I'm going to say this till the day I die, if Nip was able to do all that he did with, like, Vector 90, Marathon Store, as you saw when he was murdered that day, he was putting one of his boys on who had a felony. He was putting him on, bro. He was going to get him a good job at his store, again, creating jobs. If Nip did all that, Nip was probably worth like a few million, then Oprah needs to do 10 times more. Yeah. Robert Smith, like, great job with the student loans things, but it doesn't stop right there. Keep it coming and create actual programs, feed into creating black media platforms. Like, nobody thinks about black media. That creates so many jobs. So many, like, Nia, with your production company, on their talent, editors, cameramen, camera women, lighting crew. Like, bro, all that. That's 5 jobs that's right there. Photographer.
True.
But we don't, I think that sometimes we like being the only one in the room. And if I tell Nia how I edit stuff, or if I tell Malik how I do stuff, or I don't want to tell him because then he's going to be better than me. Or, I don't care, man. Like, y'all can ask me anything. As you see, I'm asking y'all stuff because I want to learn. Any person who ever has DM me, I make sure I respond to every email, text message, because we got to help each other.
Exactly.
Because those billionaires, no disrespect, and I'll say this to Oprah's face, like, you can do way more.
Way more.
Like, bro, your show was filmed in Chicago. Why is Chicago #1 in gun violence? You could change that overnight. So that's just how I feel.
That.
It's real.
Yep.
So I know you done already dropped a couple names, books and whatnot, but do you have any more, like, any suggestions, content suggestions for people to learn about starting their own business?
Yeah, really, I'll say this. When I tore my Achilles, like, back in December, I was bored, so I had to read because I was bored. Like, you get tired of watching Netflix. Yeah. So I was reading, but I would say you learn more from watching videos because I feel like with reading, like, you have to tell yourself, okay, a few more pages today, 20 more, or you start dozing off, or somebody texts you and then you get lost in your phone.
Yeah.
And it's not our faults because reading is boring. Like, most people try to say, if you want to be a millionaire, you have to read this many books. No, because you have to apply that information. It's just like being in school. I can read something all day. When the test comes, brain goes blank.
Right.
So I would say, man, just watch videos. Watch podcasts like Earn Your Leisure. Google Dr. Boyce Watkins. I love him, man, where he breaks down finances all the time in a very simple manner. Because in books, they'll start speaking certain things that we don't even know what they're talking about. So Dr. Boyce Watkins, check him out for real. Dr. Claude Anderson again. Earn Your Leisure. I love that podcast. So just tune in to podcasts, watch videos, and find dope people on Instagram. Like, people overthink this. Find some people on Instagram. Like, it's a guy who I follow, him 500. It's HM 500, and he talks about credit every day. Or David Shands, Sleep is for Suckers, where he talks about selling T-shirts. Like, you can learn whatever you want to learn, and it's all on social media. But I feel like we want to look cool and say, "Oh, I read this book." Yeah. I don't like to read. Like, after I was done reading Mindset of Success, I was done reading because I almost fell asleep. Like, it was a great book. It was like 300 pages. And towards page 150, I was like, okay, I get it. Yeah, that's it. Right. Like, I get it. I get it. But then it keeps going and going and going.
Right,
so we got to stop trying to look cool. We got to stop trying to think, oh, if I post this on Instagram, they'll think I'm smart.
Right.
Just scroll on Instagram, find somebody who you like, go on YouTube, and you can learn so much more from hearing somebody talk than just reading it. So, yeah.
Dope. All right, so Caleb just dropped some gems for us. We're going to go over into crunch time. We're going to switch it up a little bit, make it a little fun. So, crunch time.
All right, guys, we are back with crunch time with Caleb. And Caleb, we finna hit you with some hard hitting questions. All right, that's all I'm gonna say.
Let's do it.
I'm gonna hit you with it first. So, Netflix, they've been dropping these black shows lately.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna ask you. I got three for you. Which one you taking? You taking Moesha, Sister,
That's some classics.
or the Parkers?
All right. That's tough. Because really, the Parkers is cool and all, but that's something that you watch when it's like late at night. So it's not.
Yeah.
What?
Yeah.
Look.
The Parkers is
Don't get me wrong.
hilarious.
Don't get me wrong. I love them. But
Yeah.
it's just like Moesha, Sister.
I feel it. Yeah. That's
but
real.
growing up, and it's crazy because we starting to get old. I remember
real.
ABC Family before Freeform.
Oh,
Right.
yes. Why did
Growing
they do
up,
that?
They used to play
No,
Sister.
they fumbled the
Sister.
bag.
Bro, big time.
Freeform?
They used to play Family Matters and Sister.
All
Bro, they
the
used to play it in the
time.
morning,
Yeah.
in the afternoon, and bro, in the summertime,
Yeah.
Yep.
marathon every day.
Every
Boom,
day.
boom.
Man.
Every day.
I love Moesha to death.
Yeah.
Respect to Brandy, but Sister, bro, because they got
Sis-
so many
yeah.
episodes.
Yeah.
What? And you've
Marcus
seen their
Houston.
growth.
Right,
From
exactly.
when they were
Literally.
like
Yeah.
young to them in college.
In college, yeah, that's what I'm
Yeah.
saying. Like,
Yeah.
bro, the script writing was immaculate.
Great.
A1.
It's great.
Sister, bro.
Okay.
Number one.
I like that. I
Love
like
it.
that.
All right, Caleb. So I saw this on Instagram the other day.
Mhm.
Which R&B star would you want to sing at your wedding? Usher, John Legend, Neo, Miguel, or Frank Ocean?
All right, all of them legends in their own rights. Neo, nah. I love Neo.
Yeah,
Songwriter,
yeah.
better
Nah,
as a songwriter.
Yeah.
John Legend, he'll be doing too much like
Too-
yodeling.
yeah.
And all that. Usher has been my guy ever since I was a kid.
Yeah.
Man. Like growing up, and
True.
you want to get like
That
a
was
girl's
my guy.
attention. Play that Usher in like elementary school, middle school. Usher by far, man. Atlanta Zone too.
Gotta do
Gotta
that.
go with Usher.
I like that.
Got
Good
to.
choice. Good
Got
choice.
to.
like that.
Good choice.
He has way more classics too.
People be sleep on Usher
I
for
be like,
some
bro, you can sing
reason,
Confessions
man. I
walking
don't
down
know
the aisle. I
why.
don't care. You can just sing whatever, bro. You got it. Surprise me, bro.
That's
All right.
hilarious.
Let me think. Matter of fact, I'm gonna just put you on the spot.
Let's rock.
So we talked about this earlier.
Yeah.
Please tell the people why you have the Mavs in 6.
Why you making it sound like I'm crazy, bro? The series is tied. Y'all, think about this, right? And I was laughing. Nia Slick panicked when LA lost to Portland.
I did.
I saw it in your store, dark room. Be like, hey,
she's
I
letting
panicked.
us talk-
if
she was
they don't
talking.
change,
If they don't change.
Yeah, right.
I'm like, all right, bet. We're going to see the same energy game, too. Bro, everybody knows I'm like a huge Bron fan.
Yeah.
They lost, phone blowing up. And I
Yeah.
was telling people, right? You got to understand, and it's the same way with the Mavs. Guys who got the sauce, like you saw it on The Last Dance, Jordan let Reggie get some games.
True.
And what'd he say? With a cigar in his mouth, with the bat.
Right.
He can still talk when the score is 0-0. Or if it's tied in the fourth,
Boy, Jordan
I
was
respect
crazy,
you. 'Cause
right.
he said you could talk big after one game being
Right.
up by 8.
Yeah.
And that's my thing with the Clippers. You got to, and y'all know this from playing sports, you got to respect the game.
Mm-hmm.
The Clippers, yes, they have more talent, but if I did a podcast and I only film once every 3 months, but y'all film once a week or even bi-weekly,
Right.
your content is going to be way better because from each experience, you learn what to fix, what you like the most,
Yeah.
how to refine it, how to clean it up.
Right.
It's the same thing with basketball.
Yeah.
Basketball is such a beautiful sport that it's all about timing. Like
Yeah.
if I'm making a cut, you'll know that I'm about to make that cut because we play like at least 65 games
Yeah.
together.
Yeah.
But if we only play 14 and Paul George only gets me 9 points,
Right.
I got Luka, bro, because like nobody's stopping him right now. Like, isn't he getting like 30 plus?
He getting 30 plus.
And mind y'all, this is supposed to be a very defensive team. They're not looking that way. And at all. Again, if they did this without Kristaps, like I feel like they hadn't even played together this whole series. Kristaps ejected game 1, game 2, they go in buckets. Game 3, no KP again. Win. So if they had KP, that's another 20 points on the scoreboard. So I'm telling y'all, Mavs in 6.
Okay.
Because Paul George, playoff P, he's right. That is playoff P. Or somebody said playoff Pee Wee. That's who he is, bro.
Pandemic P.
Pandemic P.
Pandemic P.
Pandemic P. Y'all. 9 points.
gosh.
Bro, let Bron score 9 points, but Bron's 10 points was different because Bron scoring 10 points is just different. It's super hard to explain. It's just different. Like he impacts the game. Paul George is a pure scorer. So if playoff Pee Wee or pandemic P, if you only give me single digit points,
you're not doing
that's not even an even number. So that means that some of those came from the free throw line.
Exactly. Yeah. He was like 2 for like 12 or something like.
Bro, so y'all trying to tell me, man, that y'all trust them? I don't.
I just feel like they gonna get it together.
We've been saying that every time.
You're right. We said it,
But Malik, here's why. It'll be different if they played the majority of the season together.
True.
Toronto was different because they played together.
Yeah.
With the Clippers, PG taking games off, Kawhi taking games off, Lou Will taking games off.
Get a short season
Everybody's
like
on load management. Bro, you got to respect the game.
True.
Mavs in 6, man.
Okay.
When it happens, y'all need to play this, bro. Mavs in 6.
I'm playing. No, we gonna cut it up.
Nostradamus for real. Nostradamus for real. Mavs in 6. I'm telling you, man.
All right now.
Luka getting buckets.
All right now.
That's a bad white boy. For real.
So let me ask you this: what is your what's your hot take on who is going to be the NBA Finals champ this year?
Man, it's no hot take. We already know what the vibes is.
Okay. All right.
Bron.
LA.
Bro, once Bron gets his 4th chip, it'll be with 3 different teams. GOAT discussion's over with.
Yeah.
It is.
True.
Because I've always said this because as a kid before I loved Bron, Kobe was my first.
Yeah.
Like that was like my first love of like a pro athlete.
Right.
And I felt like Kobe surpassed Mike. Because if we look at it, Kobe had his first chip at 22. I mean, Mike didn't get his first at, 27? And Kobe was coming out the West.
True.
Nobody talks about that. He went to 4 straight finals and almost 4. Bro, do you know how crazy that sounds to say almost 4-peated by 25?
Right.
That's crazy.
And I went 5 for 7 in the finals, and I had to play way better competition. No knock on Mike. But think about Kobe. He had to get through San Antonio, through Phoenix, through Portland when they had Scottie Pippen, Stoudemire, Grant. Like, bro, they just had squads. And then the finals, bro, like he saw the Pistons. Like, Kobe went through so much. And I felt like Bron went through so much that we can't really count rings. Like, of course, it takes a certain amount of rings. Right. But we got to look at their level of competition, of what Kobe was doing. Like, people forget in 2010, Kobe had been in the league since 96. Yeah. And went back to back. Bron, same thing. So, if Bron gets this, bro, I don't want to hear nothing. That's it.
All right. That's Caleb's take.
That's it, man.
Caleb's take.
4 chips.
To it.
4 chips. And he going back to back.
Oh, shoot. Okay. Oh, you like doing that?
No, for real. I promise you. Bron might even finish with 6 because I feel like if they go back to back, he's going to make that push.
He got what? He got.
So year 17 is this year. Year 18, he's still going to be the same because it's pretty much year 18 now. Yeah. And then year 19, I could give it to him. But year 19, I really feel like he's going to be a real point guard. He'll probably average at least like 12 assists per game.
It's going to be AD team. If AD, I'm pretty sure AD will resign, but
they'll be good.
Yeah, they'll be straight. Yeah. And everybody want to come to LA.
You feel me?
That's why I went to LA.
Yeah, man. Tell him.
Okay.
Don't sleep.
All right.
And don't panic either, Nia.
Don't panic.
If they lose one game,
don't panic.
You're gonna be in the dark room.
No.
If they don't change,
here's the thing.
It's over.
Here's the thing. I wasn't even panicking. It's the fact that like it's the fact that
it wasn't looking pretty.
It wasn't because I'm like,
that was scary,
what is going on with the Lakers?
Up
like,
by what 6 or 8 with a few minutes to go.
It's dangerous.
Dame was dancing on them.
And that's
literally.
what I'm saying.
Bro, he started doing like his baby dance.
Yeah.
I'm like,
song came on, so I had to represent Oakland.
Bro, that's the worst thing he could have done.
And that's what I'm saying. I'm like, that's why I said, you know what? Let me get on here right now.
Right.
Because I'm like, y'all can't play around because Dame is on a different level right now.
You
don't want to mess with Dame.
That man went off with a dislocated finger.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
He's upset. He's coming for blood. And I'm like, y'all could play around with any other team.
Except
if
for
it
that
was
boy.
the Sixers.
You can do it with Memphis if they got in or Phoenix.
Right.
But
you're not playing with the Blazers.
That's the best 8 seed ever, bro.
Yeah, no.
Yeah, they're not supposed to be an 8 seed. That's
they probably a 5 or a 4.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
No.
OKC is an 8 seed. Yeah.
It should be 3-0. I'm gonna be honest. I don't think they should have got that game last.
But Nia, you were right though.
Yeah,
Like
you can't play around.
I was
like
scared.
That.
Yeah.
But I trust Bron. It's scary when you see an AC pop off
yes,
on game one.
Exactly.
I knew Bron wasn't gonna go down 2-0 anyway. I knew there was
Paul
No.
Pierce mad
game.
right now, man.
Yeah, oh yeah.
Talking
Paul
about
Pierce
it.
was
I wanna hear
hater.
no more GOAT talk.
He
You
is
lose
a
the
hater.
series. All right,
He is a hater.
Bet.
Please shut up
Right.
before we walk you back.
Before we walk you back.
To the
Him
bathroom.
and Kendrick Perkins.
Doing on himself, man.
Get
Literally.
Get him out of
Literally,
here.
bro.
Get him out of here. But that's crunch time, y'all. We're about to wrap up this episode. Stay tuned.
All right, y'all. We are going to wrap it up today. Kicking it with Caleb. Caleb, man, motivational, inspirational, all this. Yo,
I appreciate y'all.
I knew it was
I
coming.
appreciate y'all. Thank you. I love it.
Man.
I love this show, man. Thank y'all. It was fun.
Yeah. Caleb, where can everyone follow you on Instagram?
Yeah.
Where they can follow 3 Milli?
Mm-hmm.
How we
All
can
that.
watch you?
Yeah.
All that stuff.
Yeah. If you guys can follow my personal page at Mind of Solomon, so that's MINDOF Solomon. 3 Milli at 3 Milli Pod, 3 MI2LI Pod. YouTube, 3 Milli Productions. Check us out. Subscribe. Y'all can tune in on Instagram. We're trying to start filming again, but you know how COVID be.
Right.
We're trying to get people to come in. Right. So in the meantime, just check us out. I'm on Instagram, Millennial Masterclass Series, Instagram Live. You can tune in anytime. It will be posted on YouTube. So yeah, Instagram, YouTube, all that good stuff. Yep.
Thank you.
Dope.
Thank
Caleb,
Thank
thank
y'all.
you for coming through.
Real.
Thank
you
y'all.
for
I
dropping
appreciate
this
y'all having
gem.
me.
Yeah,
Yes.
yeah.
Y'all
And
keep
you know,
doing what y'all
we'll definitely have a part 2 for
Yeah.
sure.
Hey,
Got
anytime.
to.
You gotta come back.
Got to.
Anytime, I'm telling y'all, I'm only a phone call or a text away.
That's right.
Anytime,
That's
for real.
right.
I appreciate y'all.
That's
Seriously.
right.
Respect.
Thanks
Yeah.
for coming through.
It's going up. Thank y'all.
But hey, that's episode 15, y'all. Y'all already know the drill. Follow us on Twitter and Instagram at In The Clutch Pod. That is IN Clutch Pod. I am Nia Simone. You can follow me on Twitter and Instagram at Nia On Air.
And I am Malik Brown. You can find me on Twitter and Instagram at _Malik ATL. Y'all, episode 15. Caleb.
Appreciate y'all, man. Thank y'all.
We out, y'all.
Thanks for tuning in.